done watching Redwood Massacre Annihilation. Absolutely loved it. Tons of gore. The cast was amazing. What's up, my friend? How you doing today?
Good as anyone can be during these crazy times, I guess.
I know, right? How are you doing with COVID? Are you working actively? Are you working on movies right now?
We've got we were supposed to have already shot another movie, but it got pushed back to the end of the year. And I'm in Scotland, and over here it's complete lockdown, so everything's shut down. So
Oh man,
not good for people making movies.
well, let's talk about the follow up Redwood Massacre Annihilation. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't catch the first one. Now that I watched the second one, I definitely got to go back and watch the first one. And I recognized the mask. And I was like, when HorrO presented the movie to us that we were going to do this week, I was like, yeah, that looks awesome. I remember this. And we get thrown so many horror movies that there's only so much time in the day where you can fit them all in. But now that I saw this, blew my mind. Tons of gore. I love the practical effects. We're all big fans of just the practical magic or practical effects and the natural look of blood and people screaming rather than CGI. We don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about that. It seemed like on some of these scenes, one scene that jumped out at me the most was there's a hacksaw and the guy's laying down, and I'm not going to go into too much of it, but do you take your passion doing this? Like it felt like you really took your time and you were. I could just imagine. I wanted to be there on set seeing you direct these scenes.
So the first movie was it was a super low budget film. It was we actually self funded the first film, and we had to do all the gore effects ourselves. And on the first one, we decided that's obviously the best way to do it is practically because CGI is either too expensive or looks really bad. So in the second one, we actually hired a proper makeup guy, but like all these kind of low budget movies, not everything really worked out the way it was supposed to work. So a lot of the stuff in the second one is just us winging it, going back to how we did the first one and trying to salvage what we could, if I'm honest. So in a weird way, I'm kind of disappointed, but happy it still worked and people enjoy it, I guess.
So I understand that you directed this and you wrote this. Um, is I'm just gonna take a guess. It was your wife one of the producers as well. Or
Yes,
is it,
so my
yeah, okay.
wife, yeah, she was the line producer on this one.
And where did the idea come from? Because I see that
Uh,
you wrote it, and originally, where did you get this character, and what were your influences?
so we made our first film was like super low budget movie, and we managed to get distribution, and it was a disaster. And when we tried to get funding for another movie, the first one was so bad they pretty much shut the door on us funding wise. So it was kind of an educated guess. Everyone was telling us, even distributors, no one watches slasher movies, and I was like, that's just nonsense. I think
Yeah.
there's still a huge market for slasher films, and rather than us try to do a movie where we're chasing an audience, I was like, there is already an audience, and more specifically, people that watch slasher films are normally more forgiving, I would say, for low budget movies. So that was our kind of thinking: go in, make a slasher film, see if we can maybe open the door a little bit, try to make other movies off the back of that. So it wasn't really like a passion of mine to make a slasher. It was more like a kind of savvy business kind of way to see if I could force myself in. I know that sounds kind of disappointing, but
No.
that's how it kind of.
When you see the character with the mask, when you see him walk on set, I mean, does it give you like the heebie-jeebies, or are you looking like that's badass? He's gonna tear it up. Like, what do you feel like when you see that on set?
It's a weird one because the guy who plays the
Is it,
burlap killer or whatever he's called, he's a very shy, timid guy.
is it Alec Westwood? Is that?
So it's no, he's called Benjamin Selway. He's
Uh,
so he's very shy. He's quite is an introvert. Is that the right word? But
yeah.
so it's completely at odds with how he acts. Like you roll the camera and he adds in all this cool stuff. So it's It's yeah. I think when we were doing the costume, we got lucky because we found a cool US company that made those masks, and the dungarees and the color was a happy accident actually. So it's one of those luck things that it looked good on camera. So it could have been a disaster if I had my way with the original first costume. Let's put it that way. It was more like Hellraiser.
Well, I got to talk about the cast before I hand it on. Obviously, you got a headliner here in Danielle Harris. She's a like one of the horror scream queens. She's made a name for herself doing a lot of great movies lately. How was that working with her? Is that somebody that you had circled when you wanted to do the follow up? Talk about that a little bit. Then some of the other cast members, like Max. Max's character was great too, and the father Tom, right? Yeah, Tom. Just the interactions with them. Obviously, Danielle Harris being who she is. How was working with them, and how did you get them to come on the movie?
So, well, originally when I pitched to do a second movie, it was through kind of new investors in Las Vegas, believe it or not, and I was all set up to kind of do another really low budget film, and just kind of crank it out and see what happened. But the new executive producers they'd done a heap of direct to DVD movies with no name stars, and had financed another movie I did that wasn't very successful. And they were like, you know what, so sick of doing this, let's reach out and let's get a no name actor. In fact, the whole basis of getting the money is secure a no name actor, and then we'll give you the money. So it was, and I was kind of removed from the casting. So there was quite a lot of actors that came via email. It's the usual story, like, here's the choice of actors you're going to get. You don't really have much much say in it. But when I saw Danielle Harris' name, I was like, she's never going to do it. She's never going to do this. She's done like what, how many kind of movies like this? So, and it was such a rush production. So within 2 weeks, I'd agreed to do the movie and flew over to Scotland. So it was a surprise for everyone, if I'm honest. And the other actors I'd known through previous producers' films. So I do a lot of post-production on films. So I felt I knew them, even though they didn't know me. I'm like sitting here, like 8 hours a day listening to them saying the same thing. So those smaller parts were more like my wish list that I managed to convince them. Well, I didn't convince them. They were more than happy to get those guys on board. So yeah, I'm lucky.
Well, I'm going to pass you on here to Chris in a second here, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving us a new slasher. One of my favorite films in the past couple of years is Terrifier, and that's another with Art the Clown. That's a new slasher. So now with the burlap head guy, we got to think of a cool name for him. But you get these images of just obviously, Freddy Krueger and Jason and Michael Myers have paved the way for these slashes, but you're giving us something new, and I can't wait to see what's in store with the next film. Hopefully, there's a follow-up. So, Chris, I know, Chris, I know you're feeling under the weather, but I'm gonna pass David on to you.
All right, yes, I am, and I got to say that Dr. Omar's guidance was terrific. I am feeling a lot better. We'll see if that holds up. And David, a couple of questions that I try to come up with questions the others won't come up with, because by the time you get to the end, all your questions are taken. But Donna, Stephanie Lynn Stiles, what a great character. And she sort of comes out of nowhere and adds a big twist to the plot. And also an indication, perhaps, and I don't know, I throw this out there, of where the Redwood Massacre series is going. Right now, I know it's premature, but are you following the guidance of that last couple of lines of the movie when you're putting together an idea of what a third Redwood Massacre is going?
No, no. You know what? It all depends. There's two versions of a possible third one, and it all depends how much money the second one makes. So the lower budget one would be following on from the end of the second one. But if we get a bit more money, we've got like I would say a cool original idea that would bring back Danielle Harris and some of the other actors that were in the second one. Just something completely different that loosely ties all the movies together. But if I don't get that, yeah, a lower budget one would be just to follow on and maybe, yeah, follow the slasher formula a bit more closely this time.
I was heartbroken when Tevi Poe made her inevitable fate.
Yes.
But if you could bring her back anyway, she's very hot, so we won't mind. We won't question. You had Laura, Danielle, and you had John, the dad, and they both have been grieving in different ways. Their sister is still missing, presumed dead from the first one. She's angry. She's bitter. Perhaps she's taking a little bit out on her dad. Her dad is more speculative. Her dad just wants closure. Her dad is very speculative. And I thought it was great how you matched these two up. They both had very different motives for going on the hunt for finding this fiend who was responsible for the death of John's daughter and Danielle's sister. And you're wondering in this movie if they're going to be able to come closer and maybe develop an understanding, because they're definitely at two different places, but now they have agreed to work together. And then you throw Max in. I thought you did that very, very well with Danielle or Laura and John. And we'll all watch this as a hulking slasher movie, the kind that shows no mercy. But still, if you look a little deeper, this is a bit more of a deeper movie, especially if you focus on that relationship with Donna and John.
Yeah. We tried something different. The first movie was such a kind of cookie cutter, where we focused so much just on it was still low budget, but we focused so much on the gore, where maybe the acting was further down the list of what we were really paying attention to. So when we knew we were going to get the cast, I thought it would be, maybe this would be one of the times where I could try more character stuff. And I think reading the reviews back is some slasher fans are disappointed that there's more of like a build-up character thing, but people that don't necessarily like slasher films are enjoying it for that very reason, that there's more time spent with them in the build-up and more of a kind of mystery story, I guess. I'm not sure, but that's the kind of, yeah. Sorry, I lost totally train of the question about Danielle.
That's good. You answered it.
Okay.
I eagerly await the third one. So I guarantee you when it's out, I'm going to put it on my blog. I can't thank you enough for these two movies and the chat with us tonight. And
No, it's my pleasure.
I'm going to send it over to Omar, my doctor, and I will hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Oh, so?
Hopefully we'll have you on again with the third one as well.
My fingers are crossed. I'm hoping, trust me.
Well, thanks for joining us, David. It's nice to actually see you and talk to you on the screen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's
we've for those who don't know, we've talked a couple of times behind the scenes on Twitter. So I guess Chris went ahead and kind of spoiled one of the questions I definitely was going to ask about a third part, because I saw that you did tweet out mention of that at one point. So I'm not going to jump into that, but I'm glad to see and hope that there will be a third part, and anything that we can do to help that out, just let us know. Chris mentioned some other characters. I'm gonna ask about Max. I really liked his character, and I thought it was a fascinating use of him, because while you see the burlap guy very at the very beginning, just a touch, we really don't see him too much later in the movie. So you need to kind of fill in a little bit of horror as you go and as you get to the point here. And Max is that guy. Max is a guy. And as opposed to leaving some mystery and maybe giving the audience a character where you're not really sure whether he's bad or not, you give it to him. He's like, this guy's bad. He does bad things. And we're not going to hide that from you. Why decide to throw? How did Max's character come to be? And why decide to make him so bad and not hide that from the audience at the start?
I think it was more like I used to watch a lot of horror movies when I was a kid, and even when I made the first Redwood Massacre, I was kind of out of watching horror, and on reflection, watching it back, I was like, is there a way to kind of mix the formula up for slasher, which there is a formula, you know, when you're making these movies, you kind of, you know, like Christopher, you said with Jennifer being the fifth in the credits, you know, she was going to die. So the whole idea for the second one and the whole pitch for the second one was, what if we put someone who's maybe technically worse than the killer? Is that, you know, something fresh that might push the film along? And maybe I went too far with certain scenes, but I thought it would be a good idea just to set it up front that this guy is worse than what's coming, and let the audience, you know, like watch him intermingle with the goodies, you know, and hope that kind of built up a kind of weird tension. That was like my plan, I guess. I guess the jury's still out if it worked or not, because I know there's been people that said, well, you kind of give it away from the start, which we did. But for these type of movies, I think it's cool just to be like straight from the, you know, 5 minutes in, having sex with a dead body, you know. But
we've all done it.
Sorry.
No, go,
Yeah.
Chris. You want to say something? Go for it.
You don't want to. Yeah, it was completely inappropriate. I apologize.
Yeah, my wife started to look at me a little bit weird when I wrote that, but I can assure anyone that's seen it, it was hilarious filming it. It was so funny. But yeah, the casting of Damien, he came on the movie so late. I mean, maybe 3-4 days before he flew over to Scotland to shoot. So I'd only seen him in I've seen a couple of his older movies, but he was in the Grimm TV show, and he played like a big tough guy. So we were kind of unsure how he was going to play it. And then after the first scene, I think it kind of clicked, and I think throughout all the people in the movie, I think he nailed it probably the best. It's quite sinister and charming at the same time.
Oh, he did a terrific job, and you know, I don't know about those other people who are watching the movie and complaining. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed him being so bad up front. I didn't mind, you know, having I actually preferred that I didn't have to wait for the mystery of it, because in a way, when you look at that group, he's like one of the only ones that could have really been a true bad guy. I mean, you know, you could have done the others, but maybe it wouldn't have been as believable. Whereas you can see him being a bad guy, so I didn't mind it, and I thought there were a couple of things. No, go ahead.
And you know, sometimes this kind of movie, if I had played it the other way, the audience are smart enough to see that like a mile away anyway. So it's just like beating them to the punch. You know, boom, he's the baddie.
Exactly, and I thought there were a couple of things that you did in the movie really well that kind of changed the formula a little bit, like the way you created the group and presented the group, and then as opposed to just throwing them out, you know, or starting the movie out in the forest. Oh, we're looking for this guy, or we're just, you know, out here aimlessly, and then have a killer come and get them. They're actually looking for a killer. And in most movies, you know, you're not looking for a killer, or you're not looking, you know, you're not doing this kind of investigation. You know, we might see people looking for ghosts in some places, but a serial killer, nobody's really out there looking for one of those. And you kind of I like that you threw that at us, and have the group actually looking for this guy.
Yeah, we thought like all the characters still do like stupid stuff, but we tried to keep it more where there's hopefully an intelligence comes through, as opposed to my first film where they were so stupid. You know, it was classic horror, you know, spooky corridor, here's a noise, has to go down and check it out, that kind of stuff. So I was really aware when I was filming. And in a weird way, it's because I read the reviews for my movies, and I take like the pluses and the negatives and try and when I'm writing a script. And this is probably, I'm starting to think this is probably a bad way of doing it. I'm starting to try and please people in that. And so that was a result from quite a lot of feedback. You know, these people are so stupid. So the second one, I was like, okay, let's try and take their intelligence level up just a little bit.
Well, it comes with that, and I would say, as Chris does reviews, I do reviews. We're not always right, so sometimes we are, and maybe Chris is right a lot, but it's just take it with a grain of salt because I've read
Yeah.
some stuff that I I'm like, okay, what, I don't know what you watched, but anyway, I want to jump to kind of the end of this. The movie kind of ends up in a bunker. I was kind of
Mhm.
curious, were you really in a bunker, or how that's, or was that more of a building kind of setup, or how'd you film that final setup there?
So the outside building before they go
Or
down.
where they go down, and where the
Yeah,
killers actually.
it's an actual real building. It was used by in the UK it's called the RAF, and it was like a secret. The actual house is a facade, so it was designed just to look like a house. And you go in that house, and those everything is real. You go down the stairs, and it really does go down into a real bunker. So it was all 100% real. So it, and probably to our benefit, it was 100% real, because obviously it would have been an amazing set if we built it. But yeah, some guy owns that in Scotland.
Well.
It's kind of, I don't know what he does down there, but yeah, he owns it.
Yeah, yeah. You film it and get out. So
He was super nice.
was it a challenge to film down there, or was there enough space to maneuver and get everybody to do what they needed to do?
It was actually, it probably looks a bit bigger on the screen, but we're lucky because it was on 2 floors. So even the corridors had like access to put lights up, which would have been the biggest problem for us. Like I think the hardest thing we had was trying to film in the small corridors, because we couldn't actually get the movie lights in. And if you watch the movie, you'll notice anytime they're in the corridor, they're standing under the practical lights. It doesn't matter where they go, they'll be under that light. But a bit of movie fog and some blue light, and the place looked fantastic.
Movie magic there.
Movie
And I
magic.
guess the my final question is you have a character, Gus, here, and he's the big dude. And as he's introduced, you're kind of like, okay, now this guy is going to go head to head with the killer at some point. Talk about kind of bringing this guy on set and setting that up, and the matchup you envisioned there. What was going in through your mind, and did it kind of come out the way you really want it?
So the guy that played Gus is called Gary Casper, and I mean, he's like a stunt veteran. It turns out I've been watching his movies my whole life without knowing he was in them. But part of the setup deal for Gary was he was going to be the stunt coordinator as well. And Damien Puckler, who played Max, is also a stunt guy. So those two guys worked together. And if I'm honest, the way the film was set up, it was so rushed. It was, by the time we got the green light, like a couple of weeks later, we were filming, and they gave us 18 days to shoot the whole movie, which for me wasn't enough, and it didn't give those guys enough time to plan out the fight scenes. So in their lunch breaks, they were coordinating those fights with Danielle, and at the end, and I think the fight at the end was on the very last day. It was at the end of a 16-hour day shoot, and all the Danielle, all the other, in fact, all the US actors were basically going straight from the set to the airport to go home. So we had, like, I think it was like 4 hours to shoot that end scene. So it was just like a mad, chaotic rush to get as much of the coverage as we could before they went home. So I think we're lucky. It turned out okay, I think, but it wasn't really what we planned. I think there was like obstacles. Once they started rehearsing the fight in the corridor, I quickly realized there's not many places you can put a camera in a very tight corridor. So all of my plans for that fight were kind of cinema-wise were kind of thrown out the window. So yeah, it was chaos on that last night, that fight. They were really going at it. They were really smacking each other off the wall in that. It was, yeah, low budget filmmaking.
No, I'm
And of
glad
course,
I asked.
and one of the things with the mask, it's so hard, the burlap, and he actually had like a black mask underneath, you know, so you couldn't see his eyes. And the burlap, he literally couldn't breathe. Ben, who played the Redwood guy, so he was like nearly passing out during some of these fight scenes. So it was, yeah, they went for it, and luckily they did. Otherwise, it'd still be there filming it to this day.
Wow. I'm glad I asked about that scene, because that's very interesting to know. So, those are kind of things when, you mentioned being a reviewer, when you review, you don't really know. I mean, somebody could come on and say, hey, that last fight scene was very disappointing, but if you find out, hey, you shot that in 4 hours, you're like, oh, well, that's pretty good for a 4-hour shoot there, and the struggles between the guy trying to breathe and what's happening here. So again, those are things
and imagine behind the camera, though, we have the producers and the other actors looking at their watch. When we going home? So it was one of those kind of things. But it was the same with the Danielle fight. They only had an hour in their lunch to coordinate that whole fight, figure out how someone so small could take down a big guy. And then we had like 2 hours, shoot, and then we're on to the next scene. So it was, yeah. I mean, it's not that, it's like this on most movies this kind of size, I guess. Just used to it now.
That's crazy. I can see everybody standing there. Just beat his ass already. Let's go.
Yeah, go.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and I appreciate your time here answering my questions and fascinating background. And I'm going to throw it to Muse, because I know she's got some great questions for you.
Hey, David, I really love the movie. It was so much fun.
You.
I love slasher movies, and this was great. This is definitely something that I really, really enjoyed. Love the cast. They're talking. We're live on YouTube right now, and they're talking in the chat about how great the characters were. So,
good.
We loved them. They were really, really. We really liked the way they were written. And I really didn't, you sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, okay, I really hope this guy dies. You're waiting for that moment. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to enjoy this death. But they're really well written. And I really didn't want to see anybody die in this group of friends. You're kind of like, okay, I know it's going to happen, but I just wanted to say that right off the bat. But, there are so many fun scenes in this one. So I wanted to ask you, we kind of talked about some of the challenges you faced, and Omar kind of covered that. So I wanted to ask you, what would you say, which scene was probably the most fun for you to film, where you just really loved doing it?
I wouldn't say it was fun, but I'll just say it, the necrophilia scene was, I kind of wrote that not as a joke. I deliberately put it in there, but I put it in the script just to see if people were reading it, because you can fire off these scripts to heaps of people and you never know if they're really reading it. And then the movie got the green light, and then when, like I was saying, it was such a rush production that when we came to I think it was like the 5th day, I was like, what are we shooting today? And they're like, well, it's the rape scene. And I was like, oh my God, it's still in the script. It's, oh my God. So it was more fun to watch Damien, the actor, as we had to explain what he was going to be doing and why he was going to do it. And we had like an actress that came in that was brave enough to do what we were asking her. So it was like, yeah, that's one of my fondest memories, excuse me, is just watching Damien's reaction as we kind of informed them what the scene was going to be about. So. I
bet. That would have been interesting. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that conversation, just to kind of see his face.
It was a weird one. It's yeah. I think they all thought it was a bit weird after that, but yeah.
There is another scene, and I don't really want to give away too much about I gotta mention this, so please don't kill me. There's a scene where Danielle Harris's character Laura and Gus are exploring the underground bunker prison, and they're finding all these jars of things. And
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Going there.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
I'm going there. I'm going there. So I have to ask. So there's like a jar containing. There's a jar containing a penis, and So this is so there's this scene, and I'm like, they discover what it is, and she's like, "That's a dick. that's a dead dick, basically." And then Gus is like, "Oh," and he stomps it. I have to know, was that improvised when he stomped it, or was that part of the script? I just died. I was like, "Oh my god."
It was kind of Danielle and Gary. Originally in the script, it was the dick in the jar first, and he puts it down, and then he picks up the one with the eyeball, and then he goes, it's a human eyeball. And he pulled me aside and he says, "Why would I react to the human eyeball if I've just seen a human dick in a jar?"
Right?
Which was a fair point. And then we kind of got Danielle on board, and she came up with the line, and Sam, who was doing some of the effects, rigged up the penis, the fake penis, so it would explode with the foot. So it was kind of improvised, but that was a funny day as well, actually.
I
mean, it was hard not to laugh. The Gary Casper who played Gus did a good job, because it was
I loved it. I was dead when I saw that. I was like, this is amazing. So I had to ask about that. I didn't want to give too much away, but I had to mention that one. So I hope that wasn't too much of a,
No, I've got a funny feeling these scenes are going to follow me about now for the rest of my life.
In a good way, because this is going to be such a fun memory. I'm just always going to remember that. I love the movie as well, and the cast was great. So I want to ask you, a little bit of trivia that I saw, and I want to kind of confirm it with you. I was reading up on the movie, and there is, of course, we see Tom Dempsey's character in the beginning of the movie. He had written a book about the murders and the killer and his theories and all that sort of thing. And the book is actually a real book you can buy, right? The book in the movie, it's actually based on his search for the killer. You can actually buy this. Yeah.
What it was, one of the extras who sat down beside Damien in a library scene at the start of the movie, he wrote the book. The film came out, and he's like, "Do you mind if I write a real book about this?" And I was like, you write your book. So I was kind of surprised, because after the film came out, he sent me an email, says, "Oh, it's done, it's coming out." I was like, Jesus. There's actually 2 books now, which kind of blows my mind, based on the Redwood Massacre. So I'm appreciative. Cool. It's funny to think people are taking so much time to write these things. But apparently it's quite good.
Yeah, that was neat. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I got to ask him about that." I was hoping somebody didn't ask that one, because I know it's a really cool little piece of trivia. And I had I had 2 more questions. Were there any scenes you had to leave out of the movie for whatever reason that you wish you could have kept in the movie?
Yes, there was a scene halfway, maybe through their journey, where I think it was after there was like a camp scene. I don't know if you remember, Gary pulls out all these guns and all that.
Yeah.
There was a scene where Damien goes and massacres all these campers, and then comes back. They're like, "Where's Max gone?" And they don't realize that he's went and butchered all these people. But the shooting schedule was just so tight that we thought about starting filming it, but we knew if we started filming it, because it was like 4 or 5 pages, we were going to have to pull pages from the bunker scenes later on. So we were like, it was a sad decision, but I'm hoping it kind of doesn't affect the movie. You kind of hear there's campers there, but it's just one of those things.
Well, I tell you what, it turned out great. Well, you never know, director's cut. You can throw all that in there that we didn't see.
We never filmed it. We never filmed it.
Oh,
we just had to sadly just take the pages out and let them burn. So.
Well, it was still a great film, and I kind of got the sense that there was something more maybe going on there when they were hearing the campers on further into the woods there. So I definitely I see what you're saying on that. It's still great. It was the movie was just so much fun. And my last question was kind of like to expand a little bit on Omar's question about Gary Casper as Gus versus Benjamin Selway as the burlap killer. How big is Gary Casper versus Benjamin Selway? Because they're 2 big dudes. I have to know. I'm just curious how big they are.
Oh man, I think Gary must be about 6'2", and I think Ben maybe slightly bigger. Actually, he's a big guy, like a proper big guy. So, as soon as I knew Gary was going to be in the movie, I knew there had to be for the audience. It would have been kind of lame if they didn't have that fight. So
I was waiting for that. I was like, yes, they're gonna go at it. And
yeah,
I felt it coming, especially after the death of the one young lady. And you know, Gus's character was really upset, and
Mhm.
rightly so. I was like, yes, he's like, I'm hunting you, motherfucker. You know,
Yes.
and I loved it. I was like, yes, there's gonna be a showdown. I can't wait.
And what was cool, that was all Gary Casper. He actually was just supposed to come around the corner, and he just blasted out all this words, I'm coming to get you. So we kind of went off and filmed the Red Remaster, listened to him, and so it was like a happy coincidence. Gary decided to go off script and make it much better than it would have been.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was great. I had a lot of fun with the movie. I'm like Chris. I hope there's a third one. I know we all hope there's a third one, because when she said Vegas, I was like, yes, do it. I want to see this. I want to see him loose in Vegas or something. I don't know, but it sounds like a lot of fun. So I had a blast talking to you. I love the movie.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't get a chance to watch the first one, but I want to go back and watch it for sure, because I love the second. So I'm going to pass you back to Ken. And I just want to say I enjoyed talking to you.
You too.
So Dave, we like to put our guests through a little horror trivia challenge before they go. So what we do here, we call it the Deathly 13. It's 13 trivia questions. We don't know Chris, Omar, and myself, we don't know the answers. Only Muse knows the answers. She's going to ask you these questions.
Okay.
You can ask one of us if you don't know the answer. You can ask any of the guys. You can ask for multiple choice, or you can ask to postpone the question. So I'm going to let Muse take you through the gauntlet there, and let's see how you do. The 13th question is worth 2 points, so you could go 14 for a 13th. It's been done before, a few times.
Oof.
All right, good luck, my friend.
Okay.
Okay, I have a quick question before we
Ready.
start. Are we going to allow the YouTube chat as a lifeline as well, or are we
There-
just gonna do us?
There's a delay, so no.
Okay. All right, that's good. All right, so we're gonna jump right in. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Question 1. I'm going to give you a movie synopsis, and when I'm finished, I'm going to ask you which movie I'm speaking of.
Okay.
All right. Aliens begin replacing humans with emotionless clones in this 1956 film and its 1978 remake.
Oh. The Body Snatchers?
Yes, I will take that. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Good job.
Yes, great job. All right. Question 2. I'm going to kind of like just test your movie knowledge here and just coming up with names of movies. And I'm going to ask you to name 3 horror movies starring Kevin Bacon.
Oh, Stir of Echoes.
Yes,
Nice.
love that movie.
The Hollow Man, does that count?
Yes,
yes, it does. Yes, it does. Absolutely.
And oh
The-
my God, there was one I just watched.
The one that was released today.
Oh,
Back in the
Tremors.
90s. Yes.
Tremors. Yeah. All right. Good job.
I had some help that one.
All right. Question 3. I'm going to give you another movie synopsis. And again, just let me know. You can shout out the answer. If you know it before I finish reading the question, just go ahead and cut me right off. All right. A parasite turns the residents of a high-rise apartment building into sex-crazed monsters in this 1975 film. Directed by David Cronenberg, actually.
Oh. Can I get a clue? Is there a
You could do multiple choice. You can
Okay,
ask.
multiple choice.
All right.
Multiple choice. So go for that one.
All right. Was it Shivers, Rabid, or Videodrome?
Rabbit.
Nope, it was Shivers.
Oh no. Oh, man. I've never
I
seen
was
it.
hoping-
I've never seen it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely go back and watch that one. That one's a lot of
I'll
fun.
check it out.
That is definitely great. All right, I'm gonna go into question 4. I'm gonna give you another movie synopsis and ask you to tell me which movie I'm speaking of. A recently deceased couple hires a bioexorcist to scare away the new owners of their house in this 1988 film.
Sorry, can you read that again? A bio?
A recently deceased couple hires a bioexorcist to scare away the new owners of their house in this 1988 film.
Oh my God. Can I have
Yeah.
multiple choice?
You have to say his name 3 times. There's a hint for you.
Yeah, Michael
Oh,
Keaton.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just say it twice. Don't say it 3 times. Just two times is good. We get it.
Oh man, I'll tell you guys, I suck on horror, and even when I was making Redwood Massacre, I hadn't even seen any of the Hatchet films. To my embarrassment, talking to Danielle Harris.
You're doing good. Don't worry, man. You're
Do
good.
not be embarrassed. There are so many horror films I have not seen. People are still shocked. I just recently watched some horror movies where everybody's like, you haven't seen that? But so yeah, it's hard to keep up. There's so many great horror movies out there. So definitely don't be hard on yourself on that. All right. I believe we're on question 5. Okay. In the movie Evil Dead from 1981, how many people actually die?
Okay, I'm gonna have to use my fingers here. So 1, 2. I'm gonna say 2.
Are you
3?
sure?
Let me think. So we got. Does the sister die? Oh my god!
Yes, she
I
does.
thought I would have
She does
got.
definitely die.
So that's 1. The boy dies. 2.
Oh.
3. I'd say 3.
It's actually 4.
Wait.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Who's the 4th one?
The 4th one is the one guy's girlfriend, because you have Ash, his sister, and you
Does
have
Ash-
his friend.
Does Ash die though?
You know, that's the thing. is
I
that-
think it's 3. I think he's right. I'm gonna go with 3. So I'm overriding you.
Well, the question says 4.
Well, I think it's 3.
Okay.
How does Ash die? He doesn't
If you think he actually is, like, at the end of the movie, like, he's turned into like a deadite, so I think they might be counting him, because we see him turn into a demon at the very end of the first one.
I'm gonna give
I think
David
he's
3.
in the second.
I'm gonna give David
Yeah,
3.
because he's in the third one.
That's fair. That's fair.
How could he be? There be Evil Dead or the Army of Darkness? It doesn't
Because
make any
it's a
sense.
horror movie. They
6.
got to bring Ash back.
I'm giving 3. I'm giving you 3, David, because I'm overriding.
you.
That's my jam. So, all right. Question 6.
I see both sides, so I definitely agree with 3 too. I could see both sides.
Well, there's only one right side, so hopefully you're seeing.
Well, that would be mine. No, but I'm on David's side, so I will only agree with you on that.
6.
All right, question 6. All right, this is another movie synopsis. Okay, a mother contacts 2 renowned paranormal investigators after something in her new farmhouse attacks her daughters. The investigators find a malignant presence in the house and risk their lives to destroy it in this 2013 film.
Oh my god! I'm gonna need multiple choice for this one.
But no, you can ask Omar, myself, or Chris, and Chris is raising his hand.
Chris, help me out.
Oh, the Conjuring?
Yes.
Conjuring?
Yeah.
Oh,
It is. It's The Conjuring. All right. That's what
Yes.
the lifelines are there for, though. You know, you're doing.
I
Good.
can't believe I never got that one. That's crazy.
That's well, you know, sometimes when they're kind of worded in a synopsis, it kind of threw me off too. I had to reread the question a couple times because I was like, okay, the parapsychologist. I'm like, okay, I think I know what this is, and I was right, but you know, it does kind of throw you off sometimes the way it's worded. So I can see how that might get.
I'm just bad at this. Trust me.
You're doing
You're
good.
good.
You're doing good. All right. This is actually a multiple choice, the way it was written.
Okay.
So I'm just going to give you those choices too after I read the question. What is the title of the 2000 sequel to the Blair Witch Project? Is it Book of the Dead, Book of Shadows, or
Book of Shadows.
Yes. All right. You
Yes,
got
I
it.
remember that one.
Yes.
I remember it because it was so bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a rough one.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's one of the few sequels I'm not a huge fan of, but you know, I know we all like what we like. So,
Yeah.
that was a rough one though. All right.
Question 8.
Question 8. Ken keeps me in line. Question 8. The 1990 horror film Whispers was based on a novel by what horror writer?
Oh my god. 1998.
No, 1990.
Whispers.
1990.
1990. Oh, gee whiz. You know what? I haven't even heard of that movie.
Say it again. Say the question again, Muse.
Whispers.
The 1990 horror film Whispers was based on a novel by what horror writer? He's not. It's not Stephen King. I'm just going to say that right out the gate.
Damn it. Is it? Do I get multiple choice in this one?
Don't ask me for help on this one. I'll help you out there. 'Cause
Chris,
I can give. I
you
can
look
give
confident.
I think I got it.
Chris is our author. I think
I'll pass my my lifeline to Chris if Chris knows it. You know what I
Is
mean?
it Kuntz?
What was that?
Dean Kuntz?
Yes. All right, Chris. All right,
There you-
pulled it out.
Yeah,
All
there you
right.
go.
Wow.
I actually, when I wrote that one up, I was like, Chris is gonna know this for sure. He writes and stuff. He's gonna know his authors. So I was like hoping it would fall on Chris in case there was any trouble with that one. All right. Question 9. I'm going to ask you to name 4 horror movies about witches or witchcraft. Actually, just 3.
Yeah, do 3.
3. Okay. Witches. The Blair Witch Project.
Yes.
Oh my God. Witches. Does Army of Darkness count? Probably not, does it? Ew. Oh my
Wasn't
God,
there a
guys! I
witch in
don't.
it?
What is
There was a witch in it, but I'm not sure if it's strong enough to count as a witch film. Is it?
Nah. There's one where if you just say witches
The
singular.
Witches of Eastwick.
There you go. There's one.
Yes, I'll take that. I love that movie. Yes.
And just one more. Which is there? I take there must be a movie just called Witches.
Or
maybe just
there is the movie called Witches. Yeah, so yes, yes,
Angelica
yeah.
Houston, The Witches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah, that's right. All right, that's a great. That movie was terrifying for kids too.
Yeah, it was.
It's
For
scary.
sure.
For sure. All right.
11.
Question 11. All right. Name 2 horror movies that begin with the letter N.
And okay, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
And oh my dear. And Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh my God.
There's a lot of nights.
Oh,
horror
yeah, there's a
movies.
lot of, yeah.
Oh wait, what's that Clive Barker one I got called? Nightbreed.
Yes. All right. I love
yeah.
that choice
There
too.
was.
Good one. Good one. All right.
David's going to wake up tonight. Oh, I should have said Night of the Living Dead
I
or
know,
something.
I know.
I was going to think of all these other ones. Damn it. All right, question 12.
Question 12. Name 1 horror movie that takes place at a school.
Okay, school.
And I'll even just take a famous scene. It doesn't have to totally take place.
Okay. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great scenes there. There's quite a few scenes at this school there.
Yeah.
All right, David, listen, this is question 13. You've only missed 1 question, so if you get this right, you go 13 for 13. Cool?
Oh, amazing.
No pressure.
Crazy.
Okay. This is a true or false. So just 50-50 on this one. True or false? Heather Graham, who played in Boogie Nights, played Mary Kelly in the movie From Hell from 2001.
True.
That is true. She
All
did. She played Mary
right.
Kelly. All right. Way to go.
Good job,
Did
David.
great. I thought he did great.
Yeah, he did. You know, everybody that comes on the show is so worried about it, and we've all gone through it except for Muse. I got a plan for you, Muse. Don't worry. But all of us
know.
guys have taken the challenge here, and it's when you're on the hot seat, it's you don't think correct. And you're in Scotland
No,
right now, so
no.
you're up really late right now too. So yeah, not a lot of
Yeah.
help there. Well, listen, David, we want to give you the opportunity to talk to us about what you're working on, what's in the pipeline for you, as well as where we can find you on social media.
Oh, okay, cool. Currently working on post-production on another Danielle Harris movie for another director. Shooting a home invasion movie at the end of the year, and hopefully another kind of action film, I hope, the next year, and then hopefully Redwood Massacre 3. But if people want to check me out on Twitter, it's, oh my God, this is like the questions. It's Evil Avid Editor. That's my, what do they call it now? Handle name or whatever?
Yeah, you're Abby.
That's where
yeah.
they can. That's where they can find all my pointless ramblings on the Twitter world.
Right on. David, thank you so much for giving us an awesome movie, Redwood Massacre.
Thanks,
you guys got
guys.
to check this out. David, have a great night. Keep it scary, my friend.
Thanks very much, guys. It's been fun.
All right, we're clear. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thanks, guys. That was the best interview I've done.
Yeah.
I've never had a pop quiz. That was great.
And we and Ken banner all the time, so I got to give him a hard time. So I apologize. It seemed like I was being difficult on the one question. I just like to give Ken a lot of grief on the show.
No, it was cool. It just shows. I'm so. You know what? I need to start watching horror movies again. I just out of the loop on everything. I'm like from the 80s, early 90s horror movies, and then
Well, that's the best time right there, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
yeah.
But movies like this with Redwood Massacre are what gives me hope for the future in horror movies with these nice slashers, and it's all about the effects, man. Don't go CGI if you don't have to. That's my only thing is no CGI on the horror movies unless you have
Just
to.
need more money. I need them to give me more money. For the love of
Well,
God.
listen, we'll help you out in any way we can. Between all of us, we have a lot of followers and whatnot. Whatever you need, just let us know. We'll promote the movies for you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
My friend.
Thanks very much. Cool. Was that us?
That's it.
Thanks, David.
Great, Matt. I'm way in my bed.
Good night. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks
Bye.
again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm just going to grab a drink and we'll jump right into it.
All right.
I think we're still live too. I'm not sure. I think it's. I don't know. Let me look. Hold on.
Not anymore.